Your first job will feel like stepping into a machine you don't understand, while everyone around you acts like the manual is obvious. Nobody tells you that the actual challenge isn't doing the work itself. It's learning to operate inside a system that has its own logic, its own unspoken rules, and its own way of measuring whether you're succeeding or failing. Most people walk into their first job thinking performance is everything. Do good work, get recognized, move forward. Right? But here's what actually happens. You do good work in isolation, nobody knows about it. You ask the wrong questions at the wrong time, and suddenly you're the person who doesn't get it. You try to prove yourself by working late every night, and 3 months in, you're exhausted while your coworker who leaves at 5 somehow has a better reputation than you. That gap between what you expected and what's actually valued, that's where most first job struggles live. Every workplace runs on two parallel tracks. There's the formal structure, the one written in your job description and explained in onboarding. Then there's the informal structure, the one that determines how things actually get done. The formal track tells you what your tasks are. The informal one tells you whose opinion matters when decisions are made, which meetings actually matter and which are just theater, what the real priorities are versus what's listed in the company handbook. Your brain is wired to focus on task completion because that's what school trained you for. Finish the assignment, get the grade, move on. But work doesn't operate on that logic. Work operates on visibility, consistency, and relationships. You can complete every task perfectly, but if the wrong people know about it, or if you're difficult to work with, or if you don't understand the bigger picture of why your tasks matter, your performance gets filtered through that context. Reputation in a workplace builds through pattern recognition, not individual pieces of work. Your manager and colleagues are unconsciously asking themselves, can I predict what I'll get from this person? When you're unpredictable, even if sometimes you do great work, you become a risk. When you're consistent, even if your work isn't extraordinary, you become reliable. Reliability is the foundation. Excellence is the second floor. Most people try to build the second floor first. So how do you actually make your first job run smoothly? In your first 2 weeks, your only job is to learn the landscape. Don't try to prove yourself yet. Map out how communication works, who sends information and how, what's acceptable to ask in public channels versus direct messages, how much detail people expect in updates, who the key people are, not just by title, but by influence. Watch who gets listened to in meetings. Notice who people go to when they're stuck. This is your informal structure. Establish a communication pattern with your manager early. Most new employees wait for their manager to tell them everything. That's backward. In your first week, ask your manager directly, what does success look like for me in the first 30 days? And how do you prefer to be updated on my progress? Then follow that pattern. If they say a weekly email, send a weekly email. If they say a quick daily message, send a quick daily message. You're not just reporting progress. You're training them to see you as someone who communicates predictably. Ask questions in a way that shows you've already tried to find the answer. Instead of, where is this file, say, I checked these two places and couldn't find this file. Where should I look? Instead of, how do I do this task, say, I'm planning to approach this task by doing X and Y. Does that align with how it's usually done here? This does two things. It shows you're not helpless, and it makes people more willing to help you because you've already done the groundwork. Make your work visible without being performative. If you finish something, tell the person who needs to know. If you're stuck on something, flag it before it becomes a problem. If you learn something useful, share it with your team in a low-key way. Visibility isn't about bragging. It's about making sure the people who need to know what you're doing actually know. Protect your sustainability from day one. The pattern you set in your first month becomes the expectation. If you answer messages at 11 p.m., that becomes normal. If you skip lunch every day, that becomes your baseline. You're not building a sprint. You're building a pace you can maintain for years. Saying, I'll get that to you first thing tomorrow morning is professional. Staying until midnight to deliver it same day when it wasn't urgent trains people to expect that from you constantly. The most common mistake? Treating your first job like a test you can fail. That mindset makes you defensive, anxious, and reactive. The reality is, your first job is a learning environment where you're expected to not know things. The companies that hired you know this. What they're actually evaluating is whether you can learn their systems, adapt to their culture, and grow into the role. Not whether you already know everything. Your first job isn't about being perfect. It's about becoming someone who understands how the machine works and how to operate inside it effectively. Learn the system, communicate clearly, stay consistent, and protect your sustainability. That's how you make your first job run smoothly.